welcome back to the Henshin Hangout with me, Mark, aka Airlim. Today, we've got just the review because there is no news whatsoever. There's no Sentai stuff, no toy news, nothing that I could see around the internet this week. But if anything pops up this week, I'll report it next week because, you know, news. Let's jump straight into this review. This one, I generally like this one because it felt like this entire episode moved on a little bit. Now, there was a lot of things, well, maybe one or two things that generally really irritated me, but we'll get into that. We'll get straight into that. We jump straight into this episode where we see that Jiro Momitani is there and he is training, saying that he wants to be the very best, the best there ever was, or mainly he just wants to be just the best hero, the greatest one around, and he's still trying to get the others to kind of like him, etc, etc. And I kind of dig this, and I feel like, again, this should have been a much later on thing rather than it being what it is now. So I was a bit kind of like, but for what it is, I think I kind of like his character. It's going to be a few more episodes until I'm like, do you know what? I'm all okay with this one. Now, one thing I didn't kind of get, and I'm going to throw a prediction out here. I feel that Don Momotaro as well as Sony are like kindred spirits in a way, like brothers or something like that. And I feel like their fight is going to lead up to something, or in the last episode that maybe they have to fight for all eternity because nothing will stop him. And I kind of really like Sonic. He, out of the main bad guys, he to me is like the best one because it feels like, how do I say, it feels like he's very honorable when it comes to it. We don't normally see that many bad guys. So he feels, when he saw Don Momotaro come onto the field, he was really happy. He felt a little bit of joy, which I thought, oh, I didn't kind of see that one coming. We have the Pink Ranger meeting Mr. Inuzuka, which obviously is DonBrothers Black. And they're kind of having a conversation because I feel like these guys are going to become really good friends. But obviously there's going to be some huge big thing much later on because obviously Natsumi is obviously is basically Pink's wife, and that's going to be a very interesting storyline. So I'm very much looking forward to how they're going to kind of like conclude that to me. But mainly there's kind of talk about it. We see Inuzuka actually turn around and show a picture of his of Natsumi to Pink, and it's just basically a cat. It's like a filter, and it's just like, what? How the hell? Like, how would you even see this? I did generally kind of find that like a little bit funny all the way through, but I feel like something big is going to come along much later on. Now, one thing is with Pink, I'm not a big fan of his anger. It's like if anything happens to his Miko-chan is what he says. Like if anything happens to Miko, what happens is he just literally like bursts into like, how dare you type thing. And I can see it and I can understand it, but I think it's just the way that he goes about which really kind of irritates me just a little bit, and that's what kind of makes me go, why are you like that? Why? So he is now this new monster that is basically getting rid of cars, motor vehicles, anything that moves basically that is like a car or motorbike, he gets rid of because obviously the only thing he can really say is traffic safety. And that is all. His Car Ranger. His Gears Car Ranger. Yellow and blue appear and they are ready to fight him. They don't really know, and obviously he moves really fast, so obviously he kind of like knocks them down, etc, etc. And this is when Momitani comes in and he's doing this whole thing of throwing rocks again because he wants to be this hero. And I kind of get it, like he wants to prove himself. So everyone gets kind of really mad because the giant boulder that he throws hits Blue in the face, knocks him out, and they all go back to the cafe and they're saying like, hey, you know, you need to stop doing this. You need to stop getting in our faces, and you know, you're not a hero. You can't transform. But they've had this discussion to bring back Don Momotaro to try and use more of their kind of wishes and stuff like that. And unfortunately with this, it doesn't kind of work, mainly because they're in the negative, so that means that things are going to happen. Will it be something of them like dying or something? Because that does come up in this, and I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. But because of this, Haruka loses the ability to walk, and Blue loses the ability to make haikus, which is mainly devastating for him on this one. Momitani has basically told them that he does know Don Momotaro due to the fact that he was on a school trip and some people were beating him up. It just feels weird. Like, I could have understood if it was the other way around. Momotani was about to be beaten up, and that's when Don Momotaro jumps in and saves him. But obviously it just felt really weird because you don't actually see him at all, which made me just kind of think, is this just something that they just threw it in together? It just, to me, didn't make sense. Zack is running around and he is looking for Natsumi again. Kinijo is at home with Mitsuho, and she is basically cooking like this sausage octopus thing, which again I've seen quite a lot in anime, as well as like other J-dramas and stuff like that, which is really nice. But he gets really angry and transforms into the traffic safety monster, which I think the one thing that I don't like about Kinijo is basically, I think it's his whininess. It's like, you know, he'll be like talk normally, and then say Michiho will actually hurt herself, and he's like, oh no, what you doing? Oh no. And I think that's the one thing that just irritates me all the way through this, because it shouldn't have to be like that. You know, it just really puts me off this. But he transforms into the monster of the day and basically goes downtown, and this is when we see Black run around, transform, but he's not really in it that much, and he's just runs off. So which kind of made me think that maybe this episode isn't CGI heavy, or they're trying to move away from this. And if they are, then I think it's what's losing the magic of DonBrothers. Everybody runs in and they see Kinijo transform again into the traffic safety monster, because for some strange reason he's just depowered. He's super angry and he attacks them. This is when Momitani jumps in. This is when he gains the power Dong Dragoku. We're going to call him Dragoku because that's a cooler name. Either way, he has this ability, he transforms, and this is the one thing that irritates me in the entire whole series. It's his morphing thing, where the others have gone like, Dawn, Dawn. This one's just screaming in your face constantly, and I don't like that. I just feel like you can't really hear anything going on. So when it's morphed, it's like, ah! You're like, what was that? And it's just screaming in your face. So it's not a really good thing for me, and it kind of irritates. So we do see kind of like him fight a tiny bit, but then they all go back to the cafe, and this is when Momitani is just like, hey, I'm now your leader. You're not very good, so I'm going to execute you for your crimes type thing, and you know, you're not a good fellow fighter. Yeah, and it just felt really weird. Like, why are you going into this? Like, it just, again, it's kind of out of place, where he's just like, oh, you're not really worth it, so if we destroy you, maybe your powers will be given to someone else, so I can have you as my team. And I'm just like, why don't you all just work together? That's what I would suggest. Haruka turns around and says, no, I like him, he's good, we need him back. And this is when Sonny comes around and says, hey, just to let you know, I'm gonna help you, he's asleep. Don Momotaro is asleep right now in another dimension. But I need to defeat a monster to be able to send you there, so meet me at this location. Which they do, and thus therefore Sonny actually attacks Konji and says, boom, you're gone, which then uses Momitani to then jump in, grab him, and they teleport into this other dimension where we see all of them kind of like sleeping. Now, previously, we all thought, or I mainly thought, that as soon as they are destroyed, that is it. There is no coming back from this. But effectively, they're put to sleep in this other dimension, which again is a little bit weird, but I'm glad they kind of like explain this. Momitani has actually using his abilities to kind of move forward, you know, using flame power, which I thought was kind of cool. Konji wakes up and he transforms, and they fly about a bit to kind of like maneuver around to grab Don Momotaro. They return back to the normal world, thus therefore Konji turns back into a monster, and we get a double morph with Don Momotaro and then obviously Momitani, and thus therefore they fight. And one thing I will give them in this is, well, not give them, so I'm going to take it away, is like when they morph, you hear 3 tracks basically. You'll hear the music, and then you'll hear Don Momotaro transform, and you have his version where it's like screaming in your face, and then we have Don Momotaro transforming, and all these kind of like sounds don't kind of level out a bit, so it just feels like you can't hear the other, and 2, you can't, you know, it's like, why? I'm not a big fan of this when it comes to it. But at the end of the day, they defeat Konji very, very quickly, and they do it with a really cool dragon 3D effect, which I generally kind of really liked. And they get the Car Ranger gear, which then transforms into the DonBrothers one, which I kind of liked. And thus, therefore, we get a very emotional end, where basically Blue is able to recite haikus. Haruko is able to walk again after Don Momotaro screams at her and kind of gives her that thing, kind of pep talk, which then makes her kind of go like, where the hell did you get off talking to me like that? We get the really nice music, and thus therefore she falls over right into his lap and they cuddle for a bit, or she hugs him and he smiles, and it's very, very emotional. And that's therefore the end of the episode. And now we get the preview for the next one, where it looks like Momitani is actually evil, or has an evil side, which I generally kind of was like, I need to see this. I need to see the next episode. Why have we not seen this episode? So I kind of thought, do you know what? This is really cool. I really like it. And I'm looking forward to the next episode where he basically almost solos the entire team. So I'm looking forward to that one. But that's really it. There's not really been much Sentai news. That's my review of it. This episode is an alright one. It's very emotional near the end, and that's what makes it the best. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. My name is Mark. If you want to check out my videos and anything like that, then head over to Airlim. And if you want to follow me on any social media, then obviously we've got YouTube as Airlim, Instagram as Airlim, and Facebook as Airlim. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Mainstream Live. And with that, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for watching this segment. Let me know what you think down below in the chat, and then down below in the comments. And I will see you next week. Bye!